You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome to the Sporting Time Show. I am Doug Thompson. Alongside me, Taryn Johnson, sports anchor of WNKY. What a prestigious title.
Oh, thank you, Doug.
I mean, that is very, very hefty.
Thank you.
I
agree. I sign like everything that I sign now, even my checks I sign. Sports anchor, Taryn Johnson.
You need to have them printed up like that.
I agree. You're onto something there.
Well, let's try it. Hey, listen, it has been another weird week in a high school season filled with weirdness.
Yeah.
We had a winter wonderland all week long, right? It's been absolutely crazy. So if it's not the COVID cancellations, it's the sleet, the ice, and the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been super odd, Doug. This season is so peculiar because you're right. If it's not COVID, now it's Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And Puxatawny Phil did us no favors earlier this month by seeing a shadow or whatever, having 6 more weeks of winter, and now we see the fruits of that come through this week and impact a ton of high school games. Even some college games have been pushed back and or canceled. You know, it's a very odd season, but we are pushing through and almost to the end of the regular season, Doug.
You know, I know you like talking about Phil. What's his name again?
Puxatawny Phil.
Whatever. I call him the little rat. I mean, that's because he started this whole thing off, and it has been crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has been absolutely crazy. Hopefully, it's behind us now, and we can get started back up. I guess Monday maybe.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Well, the end of February is always like the winter month where things can get a little bit dicey, right? And we've seen that this past week. Hopefully, we are in the last week of February now into March. March is where the flowers start to bloom. We get some showers, not snow showers, rain showers. That's actually April or May,
I think it's
isn't it?
April, showers, May, flowers.
I'm trying to speed the progression up here,
Not
folks.
bad, though. It was a good try. It was a good try, but you can't get anything by me. I mean, I know my flowers and my rain and my months. I don't know the Phil thing, though. But anyway, it is going to be crazy as we get down to the last few weeks before district. And again, we've got our basketball insider coming on as our guest here in a few minutes, Taryn. But if we were to look at some of the highlights, and let's start with some of the girls' stuff, Barron County, Greenwood, Bowling Green, and Metcalf continue their winning ways. Barron County out of the 15th district, Greenwood, Bowling Green, 14th district, Metcalf out of 16th district. A nice little mix there, but they seem to be firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, Doug, these are our top 4 teams of the week and kind of the top 4 that we have seen throughout the regular season. The numbers have changed a little bit, but really these 4 teams have been at or near at least the top of our power rankings as we've gone throughout. And you mentioned the end of the regular season firing on all cylinders. You especially want that to be the case right now in this current year. With the regular season in such calamity, you want your teams to be firing on all cylinders, regardless of any postponements or any delays. So these 4, you're right, Doug, we saw Barron County beat Bowling Green at the beginning of the season, launched to that #1 spot, and they've stayed there for the most part. But these 4, regardless of all the other circumstances, are looking like the top 4 teams in our region.
Yeah, they have played very strong, very consistent, and we're going to switch things up this week. We're going to announce our player of the week and honorable mention on the girls' side, and I'm going to start off with honorable mention Raven Innes from Barron County, 23 points last week. She was our player of the week last week in a lot of our conversations, but she wasn't the only honorable mention.
Yeah, our other honorable mention, Russell County's Julia Balt, goes for 17 points, has a very nice performance there. Just solid performances by both of our honorable mentions. Doug, give us our player of the week.
Well, I mean, we have talked about this young lady for many, many, many weeks. She is a sophomore at Bowling Green High School. Meadow Tisdale puts up 30 points last week. She is always consistent, right? Rebounding, she'll get her 17 to 20 points, 17, 18 points, but she can also go off for 30 points like she did.
Yeah, the thing I love about Meadow Tisdale's game, Doug, is the fact that she is down there getting those boards, offensive and defensive. She puts up the big point numbers, which certainly garners all the attraction and the allure, but she is still down there fighting, getting rebounds, and gotta love that, especially from a sophomore, to have that type of impact performance game in and game out.
Yeah, and as we will learn from our next guest, our basketball insider, Something that I learned that I didn't know, I should have known about Bowling Green girls basketball team that could change the direction of that team going into the postseason. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, our basketball insider joins us right here on the Sporting Times Show on WNKY, NBC 40. Taryn and I will be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back. I'd like to bring in our next guest, who is our basketball insider. He played his high school ball at Edmonson County High, went on to play in the Mid-South Conference at Lindsey Wilson College. He's had assistant coaching jobs at Cumberland County, Glasgow, and Trigg County, and he has also been the head coach at Hopkins County Central, Livingston Central, and Russellville High School. He's been a part of 3 district championships and 2 Final Fours in their 4th region. I'd like to bring to the show now our insider and also a Sporting Times Broadcast Network color analyst, Coach Rex Booth. Coach, welcome to the show. What an introduction.
Man, I tell you what, you make me sound a whole lot better than what I am. So I appreciate you.
No,
Glad to be here.
It is great having you here, Coach. And we're going to spend a couple of segments with you because we've got a lot to go over. Would you say we're a third of the way into the high school basketball season? It's kind of hard to tell this year exactly where we're at.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. You've got some teams that have played between 14 to 16, 17 games, and you've got a team like the Logan County Boys who've played 6. So really hard to say. I was talking to Brent the other day. In a normal year, this would be the week before the district tournament. So we're just playing, 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and as if, we didn't have enough interruption in the season, this past week has been a disaster with all of the snow and ice, and hopefully we can pick back up Monday with some high school basketball. But as you look around, Coach, let's start with the girls' 4th region, and you look at some of the top teams in Barron County. Greenwood's come on very strong with the 6-1 schedule, as you know. Bowling Green has been very competitive. How would you kind of summarize what the 4th region girls teams look like this point in the season?
Well, I think you hit the top 3 teams, right there with Barron County, Bowling Green, and Greenwood is making a surge here lately as well. The thing with Bowling Green is they're still missing 3 players. I'm looking at my notes here. Amani Withrow, Janiyah Bailey, and Josiah Franklin have all yet to play a game. Or if they have played a game, they've only played 1 or 2. So, they've won 3 games in a row by 34 points. They got Kaya Gray back, who's a difference maker for them. It's their point guard. So you think about Bowling Green and you look at some of those scores they've posted early on, we've got to take into account that that's without 3 of their better players. You hit Barron County. The thing about Barron is we saw them play. I do the color analyst with Greenwood, and we saw them play. It was about 2 weeks ago, and Greenwood was able to beat them. And since that time, they've won 4 in a row. They've got a heck of a player in Raven Ennis, who is a junior, averaging 16.5 points a game. And then, of course, Greenwood, who I see, multiple times a week doing color for their games. They've got one of the best backcourts, not only in this region, but in the state, in Leia Trent and Jacqueline Jackson. So those 3 teams are really good. And then you got some other ones there in the middle of the pack that still have a chance to challenge as well.
I want to ask you about Leia Trent for a second. She is a freshman, and she is a great complement to the senior, Jacqueline Jackson. But then you look at Meadow Tisdale, who is just a sophomore, who put 30 points up last week. So you've got kind of the seniors, and then you have, of course, the younger freshmen, sophomores that are really making an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about these young players in the region. We mentioned Barron County as well. Barron County's starting backcourt are 2 freshmen, and then 2 of their top players off the bench are 2 8th graders. So those 3 teams not only have really good old talent, they also have really good young talent. So they're set up for not only this year, but they're set up for a few years moving forward. You mentioned Meadow. Meadow had a 30-13, in her last outing against Ohio County. So she's really coming on. She dealt with some injuries early on, too. I was talking to Coach Ed earlier today. He's really excited about where her game's progressing to. And then Kayla James, who has played, the majority of the season, she's just a junior. So you think about the young talent and the old talent. I mean, the three teams that we're talking about right now are set up for years to come.
Coach, real quick, we got about 20 seconds. Lucy Patterson from Warren East. She's always in the conversation. Just real quick, 15 seconds. What do you think of Lucy?
Oh, Lucy's an outstanding player. She definitely picked the right school. Go Blue Raiders. 20 points a game, 8.8 rebounds a game. She's doing it all for her team, and they'll be right there in the mix come district tournament time as well.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, Coach. Stay still for 1 second. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Rex Booth will join us for the second segment right here on the Sporting Time Show on WNKY, NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Of course, I'm not going to give a long introduction to our basketball insider, but he joins us again, Rex Booth. Coach, we talked a little bit about the girls in the 4th region. Let's talk about the boys basketball in the 4th region. And this has been a very exciting year. When you look at some of the individual performances, Coach, from Isaiah Mason, from Mason Shirley, from Cade Stenick. I mean, you can go down the list, and there are some just absolutely great individual players across the board in the 4th region. Bowling Green undefeated until last week. They got it pretty bad by Elizabethtown. Talk a little bit about the 4th region as it stands today with Bowling Green seem to be untouchable. Do you still think that? And how do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, I still think Bowling Green's, head and shoulders above everybody else right now. Warren Central's about the only team that's challenged them to this point. And you hit on that loss that they suffered to E-Town last Saturday night. Coach Sherrill had won 40 games in a row before that. So it was definitely a break for them. But, you hear coaches at times say that a loss every now and then is a good thing. And I think for this team it may have been because, they had just ran through their schedule up until that point. So every now and then you kind of need to be humbled. You need to regroup, kind of get back into practice and get back to work. So I feel sorry for who they play next. I know that much.
So let's talk about Greenwood for a second. That's a team that you know very, very well. They've got Brown, they've got Stenick, they've got Mark Grant, they've got the other Stenick that can put up some big points. Talk about, the fact that, when you get 3 or 4 guys that can score, the difference that makes versus a team that may have one superstar or maybe a couple of guys.
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. They have 4 guys that can really score it. And one that you didn't mention was actually Lofton Howard, who we've seen really come on here these last couple of weeks. They played Murray High 2 Saturdays ago. And, I mean, he totally changed the game with the way that he just dominated in the post. So you can see that the sophomores coming on, becoming more comfortable. Grant's one of the best three-point shooters in the state. He's right around 40%, plays with great energy. And then, of course, Cade Stennett. I mean, I absolutely love watching that kid play. There's nothing that's going to rattle him. He stays within himself, plays within himself. I mean, at times you almost think he's too unselfish, but then he just turns it on. So they kind of go as he goes.
Let's talk about a couple other guys in the 4th region, of course. Andreas Miller, we've talked about him a lot on the show from Franklin Simpson. I think he's averaging 24, 26 points a game. Anthony Woodard, Rooster, out of Logan County, is a strong player. But those are 2 guys that really can get the job done.
Oh, absolutely. Both of those kids had started since they were freshmen, and now they're seniors. Andreas and Franklin Simpson. Rooster actually played for me as a freshman. So we started him as a freshman, then he transferred over to Logan County. He's had a great career. Both of those guys are 1,000-point scorers. And then, another one at Franklin Simpson is Kewan Stutzman, who's been averaging around 18 a game. Yeah. You probably haven't heard as much out of him this year because he's been hurt throughout some of the season. But the 13th district still has some really good players in that district as well. Russellville features Jaquise Todd as well. averaging about 20 points a game. So it's a really good district over there.
Coach, when you look at it, like I said, we've had plenty of cancellations because of COVID. We've been off a week now because of snow. How difficult is it to kind of get you guys refocused, or has it gotten to a point where everybody's used to it and they know how to stop and start back up and get into basketball rhythm?
I don't know. It's something that you ever get used to. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, do you miss it? And yes, I do miss it, but not this year. I mean, I don't know how I would handle this year because, like you said, it is start and stop. And then once you get into a good flow, the next thing you know, somebody either A, comes down with COVID or has been exposed to COVID and you have to shut down for a week, or then on top of that, you get the snowstorm that shut everybody down for a week also. So definitely a tough thing that you're never going to get used to, but I mean, you just have to battle adversity and continue to fight through.
Coach, we got about 30 seconds. What inspired you to become a coach?
Oh man, I've been a basketball junkie for a long time. So, when the ball went flat, they always say you got to have a backup plan. Well, the balls never really went flat for me. I've still get, blessed to be around the game and help kids, and that's the biggest thing, is to kind of just share the knowledge of the game and continue to grow it as we move forward into the future.
Well, I got to tell you, Coach, and for all of our viewers out there, if you want to watch a great broadcast, check out Brent Thompson, Coach Rex Booth on STBN TV, stfanclub.com. Thank you, Coach Booth. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Taryn Johnson and I are going to wrap up this show on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I want to thank Coach Rex Booth, our basketball insider. And Taryn, he had told me a couple things I wasn't aware of. Coach Sherrill had 40 consecutive wins before losing the game to Elizabethtown earlier this week. A couple other firsts. Barron County, they won 10 of their last 11 games before losing to the 8-4 South Warren Spartans, which is great for the Spartans. And another first, Clinton County loses their first district game against Russell County. Had a phone conversation with Coach Messer earlier today. That was interesting. Can't air that conversation. And then Allen County has won 6 of their 7 games, and they've had 2 back-to-back 80-plus wins. So
wow,
there's some
that's lighting up the scoreboard right there.
Exactly. There's some first. But I want to ask you, and I asked Coach Booth this, Bowling Green losing that game, to me, probably isn't a big deal. Might be a good thing. They're not undefeated anymore, and it could have been a wake-up call.
Yeah, Doug. They had really been coasting, and we had seen some slow starts from the Purples going back just in the last couple of weeks. But Bowling Green just really gets shellacked. There's no better way to put it, Doug. They got beat down pretty hard, and that could be a big wake-up call for a team that really hadn't had any sort of challenges, for the most part, any serious challenges. I mean,
right.
they had
Central
definitely paced. Yeah, they had definitely paced themselves and were winning games by double digits. We had mentioned in weeks past where their average winning margin is in the teens to early 20s. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of success that the Purples have had. So, getting beat like this and in a game that really wasn't even anywhere close to being competitive could be a wake-up call and get the Purples back on track as we head into the end of the regular season and into postseason play.
Yeah, Taryn, one of the things that I notice is that the Bowling Green High, they're putting a lot of points on the board, but the other thing that they're doing is not allowing points to be scored as a percentage of what they're scoring versus the rest of the 4th region. And I think that is a huge stat when you're looking at, how do other teams compare against them? But I am curious as to, what other coaches might think about that loss, and does it give them some hope that, hey, maybe we can knock them off? Yeah,
because when a team is undefeated, when they haven't lost a game so far in the regular season, there's not really that tangible blueprint that you can follow in order to beat them. And Elizabethtown beating Bowling Green like they did provides at least a semblance of a blueprint where you could potentially have success against this Purples team and exploit that going forward into the regular season, or excuse me, the end of the regular season and playoffs. So, yeah, if I'm an opposing coach, I'm studying that film very closely and seeing what Elizabethtown was able to do correctly in order to have the result that they did against Bowling Green.
You know, we talk a lot about Bowling Green, as we should, but, you know, some of the other teams that are really making a splash, Allen County Scottsville, Coach Bonds, you know, he's got scores. I mean, he's got guys that can score and get their own points, as I had mentioned before. 2 back-to-back 80-point games is huge. That's a team that I think that we really need to keep a close eye on as we get into postseason. They could do some damage.
Yeah, for sure, Doug. I'm right there with you. When you put up that amount, like that vast amount of points in back-to-back games, you're getting it from a balanced offensive attack, and that's certainly what the Patriots have there. And they're clicking at the right time, at the right point of year.
You know, I was looking, as I mentioned, I talked to Coach Messer of Clinton County. You know, 11-2, I believe, on the season right now. They're getting ready to go into the All-A Classic, which was canceled. We'll keep everybody posted on that as to if they're able to do a workaround on that. Hopefully we can, because that is such a big deal for smaller schools to participate in the All-A Classic. Sure. It's their Sweet 16, so we will keep everybody posted on that. But it is time for this week's Player of the Week for boys, and I'm going to let you start it off. I mean,
okay.
Or I can start it off, whatever you want to do.
I'll start us off here, Doug, with some honorable mentions. Our first honorable mention, Barron County's Tay Pointer has 20 points. A very nice performance for the Trojans guard right there.
Yeah, how about Allen County Scottsville? Jax Cooper, he had 20 points as well. He's getting the job done.
Warren Central, our last honorable mention, Warren Central's Jaden Lawrence goes off for 18. And, Doug, give us our player of the week right here.
I tell you what, so impressive. Junior guard from Barron County, Mason Griggs, averages about 13.4 points per game, 27 points, lights it up in a double overtime. Congratulations to him. What a performance.
You love to see that, especially in a double OT. A huge game like that goes off, doubles his season average. Congratulations to Mr. Mason Griggs.
Man, I tell you what, this show just flies by. Thank you very much for joining us. Watch out for the seniors. Watch out for the pets. It's cold. Take care of everybody. Have a great week. See Taryn and I next week. Same place, same time. Have a great week.